Hey everybody, welcome to Glitchy Pancakes, real talk about the world of fandom. I'm Jesse.
Cake Pops, and I'm Rob.
And we are doing this on the spot because the 2020 Hugo Awards have just been announced, and the Retro Hugo Awards also over the last 48 hours. And we got some stuff to talk about. So we have
Yeah,
somebody here to talk about it with us. We have the excellent author and illustrator Schill returning to the show. How
that's
you doing,
right.
Maggie?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So yeah, we have some thoughts about the Hugo Awards. I don't know what do you want to start with the actual Hugos that were announced tonight, or you want to go back and get to the retro Hugos which were announced the previous day? What you want to start with, Maggie?
Oh, geez. Well, just like to be some honor for the people who won because it was
Yes.
duly they
Right,
won. So
right.
you had the list of the winners, Jesse.
Yes, and some really good winners too. Best novel, A Memory Called Empire, Arkady Martine. That is an excellent book, and that's a well deserved win. Also, a personal favorite of mine. This is How You Lose the Time War for best novella. That is by
Oh, I
Amal El
love that
Motar.
book.
Right.
Yes, Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. That is everyone loves that book who has read
Yeah,
it.
my
Like that's
heart.
just yeah, right. Just put that on your must read list. This is How You Lose the Time War. Again, another well deserved win. N.K. Jemisin pulled in another one, best novelette for Emergency Skin. S.L. Huang won for as the last I may know, best short story. I haven't read that one yet, but looks like I'm gonna have to. There's a long list here. Also, one of my favorite things to see on here is best related work, which is kind of a broad category and can be anything related to the worlds of science fiction and fantasy. The winner for this was Jeanette Ng's speech from the 2019 John
Yes.
W. Campbell Award acceptance from last year. And that is fantastic because for folks that don't know, in that speech, the John W. Campbell Award is the award for Best New Writer. It's awarded at the same time as the Hugo Awards. Jeanette
Not
won it
anymore.
last year. Not anymore. That's what it was called, named after the editor and writer John W. Campbell. Last year, when Jeanette won it, she went up and used her acceptance speech time to tell people what they needed to know about John W. Campbell, which is, just to put it bluntly, he was a fascist and a racist and not a good person.
Hmm.
Call him a good editor if you want, that's fine, but a lot of problems as a human being. And they have since changed the name of the award. I believe it's now, what is it now?
The
The astounding.
Astounding New Writers Award.
Yeah. So the name of the award has changed now. So her acceptance speech from last year won best related work this year at the Hugos. That's fantastic.
Yes.
And yeah, again, the list is long. Best graphic story or comic, LaGuardia by Nettie
LaGuardia.
Okorafor. That is fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
loving that.
Hmm.
Congratulations.
Yes, Ellen Datlow, I see, pulled in another editor, Hugo, for short form. Novel Wolf, very well deserved again for long form editor.
Hmm.
John Picasso, best professional artist. List goes on and on and on. So those are the things. Those are some of the ones that deserve some recognition because great job to all of you for doing the work you did and winning these awards.
Right.
That is fantastic, and congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations.
That said,
Yeah.
let's move on to Maggie. I think you might have had some thoughts and some opinions about the ceremony and what was presented tonight. Anything you'd care to say?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of things to say. So, which like almost my brain is frying
Mhm.
when I
Yeah.
watched.
let's
So,
get let's get
like,
it all out.
let's figure out where to start here. Yes, it started. George R. R. Martin, Uncle George, uh,
Mhm.
proceeded over as Toastmaster. One of my friends said because it was like nearly a 53-minute introduction, maybe plus.
Wow.
We'll see in the transcripts how long it actually was. She said that this isn't a Toastmaster because a toast doesn't last that long. This is
That's true.
a stew master, you know, essentially.
Right.
It went forever. And you'll see a lot of complaints about how long that lasted, but
Was it
that's
just
besides the point.
was it just him? Was it just him speaking, like doing the introductory talk about the Hugos? I know you watched this. Rob and I haven't seen it yet, so you're filling us
Right.
in.
Well, I watched it, kind of spazzed out, went away, came back, watched it because he was still talking, and a lot of it was him talking about all the Hugos he didn't win. That makes sense.
Yeah, so he's known for one of the things that he is known for is the Hugo Losers Party. For folks that haven't heard of that, it's a thing that he started many years ago where he was nominated for a Hugo, didn't win it, and then threw a party for all the people who were nominated but didn't win.
Hmm.
And that's been an ongoing thing every year. George throws a party for all the people, the Hugo Losers Party,
Yeah.
and there have been some issues with that we might get into in a little bit,
Yeah,
but
that was last year's controversy at the Hugos.
yeah, there's one every year. There's one every single year at the
And they
Hugos,
don't
and
learn.
uh, and it's a different organization every year. I
Hmm.
guess a little background for folks that may not know this is the Hugo Awards are generally seen as I guess you would say the most prestigious, some of the most prestigious awards in science fiction and fantasy. They're given out every year at Worldcon, the World Science Fiction and Fantasy Society. Anyone who buys a membership to Worldcon votes on these things for the
Yes.
nominations and for the winners.
Right.
So, and that's been going on for a really long time. This is one of the oldest conventions. It moves from city to city
67
every.
years or so, I think,
Is it?
right?
Is it? Yeah, it's
Yep.
close to 70 years. And it moves from city to city every year because it's put on by a different group. People bid on like that they want their group in their city to host Worldcon. This is usually done a couple of years out.
Hmm.
So this year it's in New Zealand, and so it's a different group every year, and there just seems to be different problems every year. One
Hmm.
of the problems with the Hugo Losers Party last year was that a lot of the people who were nominated but didn't win were not allowed into the party. Like they capped it because I guess other people were invited in, or I don't know. It was there was a big flap about it. I don't know the details because I wasn't there, but
I know the details, but I don't know if you want to go into it on this podcast.
we just know it's going to be unpleasant. But
Yes.
but I mean that's what we're here to talk about is kind of like not just
Right.
tonight's Hugos, but
The
I'm kind
unpleasantness.
of interested in talking about like the Hugos in general and how it's a part of Worldcon and how just kind of the issues that there are because obviously this is something that's really important to a lot of people. The Hugo
Right.
Awards matter really deeply to a lot of folks, and Worldcon matters a
And
lot to a lot of
Yeah.
folks.
I'm gonna ask you to give it to me straight 100%. I'm not gonna ask you to just please tell me what I need to know, as if I were a person who didn't know anything about what was happening and needed to know.
Good. And yeah. Well, like, if I'm going to be really, really honest about Worldcon, I think the idea of Worldcon is really, really great. But the
Right.
execution, it should be called White Nations Except Japan That One Time Con. It's not a Worldcon. Because countries that have bid in the past that weren't from white nations or Japan, because Japan's really cool,
Right.
and white people want to visit Japan, um, don't win their bids. And bidding, to put a bid, it costs a minimum of like thousands. I
Mm.
think Chicago dumped like 15 grand into their bid, and you could lose. You could lose your money
Wow, I didn't know that.
because you
Wow.
have to set up your hotel and prove it, all your venues,
Wow.
curation. You got to have that set up before you present your bid, and you're dumping thousands to do it, and you might not get voted on because the Worldcon voters vote on where the next Worldcon is. And right now, I
Mm.
think it's for there's a vote right now for Worldcon. It's either between Chicago and Saudi Arabia.
What I saw is that Chicago won. So
Yes.
2021 is going to be in DC and 22 is in Chicago. And like you said, like most of the World Cons for the last 67 years and 68, 69 if you want to count the next two.
Mhm.
Most of them have been in America.
Yeah.
I think there might have been one or two in Canada maybe. There's one
Twice
in
in
Finland.
Canada.
Yeah,
And
one in
once in Finland.
Finland. I think there was one in London maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, not a lot outside of North America and Europe.
It's Western Con.
It really seems to be that way. It seems like there's being a little bit of a disconnect between, like, if you look at who won the Hugo Awards tonight, it's a really broad, diverse spectrum of people. Mostly women, and people from all over the world, all kinds of different backgrounds. So there are still problems though with Well, why don't you just tell us what else you saw? Like you were talking about
Oh,
the Toastmaster thing, and where do we go from there?
well, this is where my brain frizzles because it's like there's a lot. Uh, start
Yeah.
off, I think Jimmy Liang of JordanCon. I was like on his Twitter, and he's basically it's like I can take a shot for every time John Campbell's name comes up.
Oh, yeah.
Like in if you read the transcripts of the award show when it comes out, you'd think that this award show was honoring John Campbell, George R. R. Martin, Hyland, Harlan Ellison, Rob
Mm-hmm.
Silverberg. You'd think that's who the winners and honorees were.
Oh yeah. So okay. So the broad and diverse set of winners I was just talking about, kind of, it just seemed like they sort of got sidelined in favor of
It
just
wasn't about them.
right.
And
Yeah.
there was a feeling, like we said, Jeanette Ng, like she had that brilliant speech. She won for that speech, and you're pretty much putting that in parallel to the fact that they won't shut up about Campbell. You know,
Right, and that was one of the things with the retro Hugos, because he with the retro Hugo awards, he was given the award for best editor. Like, retro Hugos, again, we're
hmm
explaining a lot of stuff for folks that may not know much about Worldcon and the Hugos. The retro Hugos award Hugo awards retrospectively to people from this, in this case, about 75 years ago. The year was 1945.
hmm
Um, and this is when the Hugo Awards didn't exist yet. I don't understand why these exist. Frankly, I don't know
You know
why
what?
we have to do that.
You know why they
Well,
exist. You know
Yes,
I
why they
have
exist.
I've got
the
theories.
sociology behind that is
Let's
amazing.
right. Let's. You know why they exist.
Yeah, and I'd like to get your thoughts on that in a second, Maggie, about the sociology behind why the retro Hugos were even created. But you've got a couple things that really stood out that I and Rob and you probably, and a lot of other people not too thrilled about. John W. Campbell
hmm
was given a retro Hugo even after Jeanette's speech last year, and after the things that people know about him now, and for best series. That was given to H.P. Lovecraft,
Yeah,
who is, I mean, who doesn't know at this point,
who he is,
right? Who he
It's like,
was, and
I mean,
what the
it's like
problems
giving.
were. Like, was there no one else publishing in 1945? Like,
and
is
no
that
book came out there.
It's like
There was
it's
no
like
books coming
giving.
out that year.
It's like giving a star who is a pedophile a Kids Choice Award. It
right?
doesn't make
You
any
just
Mhm.
fucking sense.
no, it doesn't. It's I don't understand the thinking behind that. I mean, I get it's done by the voters, and I get, like, people want to respect the history and everything, but Maggie, what do you think about the sociology behind? Because I'm really struggling to understand why the retro Hugos were created, because this is with everything that's like. I feel like we're in like a current resurgence, like a kind of a new golden age of science
hmm
fiction and
We
fantasy,
are.
with so many amazing voices writing amazing stuff.
Ugh.
Why the focus on looking backwards? I think I know the answer, but what do you think?
Well, that there it is. It's looking backwards. You have your old guard of the golden age, and the people who made their clout and made their careers on the name, being able to name drop in the golden age. You used to be able to say Isaac Asimov was my
Right,
mentor, and that'd get you in a door.
right.
So no disrespect to Uncle George, even though I call him Uncle George, it's kind of mean. Uh, it's disrespectful. No disrespect to this guy, I just disrespected. But he was name dropping every 5 seconds. It was Highland, and this time I was in a con with this other golden age dude that is a known sexual assaulter, and so on and
Oof.
so on. He's
Oof,
still
indeed.
stuck in that era of I can name drop, and that opens a door for me. And because that is where you got your clout, it's where you get your sense of self worth and edification. That's the well that that person will return to. And this isn't just him, everyone's like this. You'll return to the wells that have always worked for you in the past.
That makes sense.
Right,
So
right.
he's returning to what has always worked is I name drop this one guy or these group of people, and that opens doors for me.
Right.
Um, and that is really, I think, the antithesis of science fiction because it's not looking forward; it's looking
Mm.
back. And
Yeah,
so the retro ward is all tied into that. It is we are clinging to back and back and back, and this is where I made the argument. I made as much I can from like because I used to do community culture counseling, basically an organization, how you can basically mold your community and your culture of your community and your organization to get your goals done.
Mhm.
What they're not doing right now is asking the questions of who is this for, and then how do we serve the people it is for. They're like
Right.
deciding this is for white men between the ages of 55 and 105,
Right.
and we're gonna do structure everything. And anytime there's anything that would slightly structure it off balance from that group demographic, there's a rebellion.
Right.
I don't give people benefit of the doubt anymore. I think every time Campbell's name was brought up, it was because there was that amazing speech last year.
Mm-hmm.
It was to be in condemnation of her amazing speech. You know, it was a girl get back in your place.
Wow.
Statement.
Like a belittlement.
Yeah.
Types. Right.
Don't you know these are the giants? We're the giants. It is a declaration of I'm still in power, from my point of view. And if the Hugos and Worldcon in general want to not be marginalized, they need to know where their community is.
Right.
And if you look at how the community of Worldcon voted, who won? That's who won. Look at these people. They were people who nominated and voted.
Right.
That's your community. So I would say to this organization, look at your community and what they voiced, what they want. Now, who are you going to choose for Toastmaster next year?
Right. And again, we're going to be dealing with, when Worldcon comes around again next year, we're dealing with an entirely different group of people putting it on. So we don't know whether they'll take that lesson. Now, we have heard, I can't call the name to mind, but we were on a call earlier tonight where we were discussing the 2021 Worldcon. And there are some good signs because there are a couple of people involved in the organization of it that that people seem to think very highly of, as far as hopefully getting this kind of stuff right. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with the idea that it's the idea with the retro Hugos and how some of these things play out is that constant desire of a certain group of people to say, no, we are, the ones that the authors I like are the classics, and this is the canon, and these are the greats, and I identify with them, and science fiction will never be, I decide, and science fiction will never be as good as it used to be, which, I mean, that's, like you said, it's the antithesis of this type of literature, and not even just literature anymore. This type of stuff that we love so much, it focuses on the possible and the future, and there's so much great stuff coming out right now that I hate to hear that the way it's set up would do such a disservice to the people who really busted their asses and put their blood, sweat, and tears into the works they created this year, in an industry that has never favored them, and managed to create the best work that was created in the past year. And win these awards, and then just get sidelined because people still want to talk about Campbell and Asimov. Like,
it's also a relevancy issue. It's like, this is where like I get myself in trouble and I'm a bit mean, but an issue of relevancy. It is also clinging to relevancy. I think people like George R. R. Martin and Rob Silverberg was there. They know that they haven't done anything. Specifically Rob Silverberg, because we can complain about George R. R. Martin taking forever to finish his book, but Silverberg, what the F has he done in the last decade?
That's a very good point. I mean, you can definitely make the argument that George has, no matter what you think about it, he has definitely made a massive contribution to the to pop culture at the very least recently. Silverberg, I'm with you on that one. I mean, I saw his stuff on the I saw his stuff on the shelves in my library when I first started reading science fiction when I was about 10. That was a few decades ago.
I'm gonna look it up. When was the last time Rob Silverberg published a book?
And I'm not I'm not just trying to shit on Bob Silverberg, but really it's like I don't know. I mean, what is the point of a Worldcon? What is the point of the Hugo Awards if you're not looking at what's going on now and keeping up with what's happening now? If your focus is retrospective, I mean, you don't need a convention for that. You don't need awards for that. Awards are for now.
Right.
And it drives me nuts that you have, I mean, great people like, Max Gladstone, Amal Elmotar, N.K. Jemisin, people that really the focus needs to be on them right now. Like, as far as what, like, if you want to, if you look at the Hugo Awards and similar awards like the Nebula as things that can help bring people a little bit more attention to their work, let it be that,
Right.
like, we need more people to read this stuff. Like, science fiction and fantasy are going in great directions right now, and
Right.
like, let's all, I think we should all get behind that and keep that momentum going. And spending an hour talking about people that are no longer alive and that
Hmm.
wrote stuff 50 years ago, I'm not saying there's not some value in some of those books. I grew up reading them. I appreciate them, but this is 2020. Let's be here where we are now.
Well, I
It,
think it's like this, man. If I was in any of these guys' position, I'd probably be trying to work with these new up and coming authors and the ones that are really, doing the thing, and just try to, I don't know, evolve my craft by being close to them and, working with them and help them through the rank. I mean, ideally that's what we would look for, right? That's the
Yeah,
solution.
that's a great point. Yeah. What were you gonna
but
say,
it
Megan?
is almost like that old abuse culture thing. It is the
Right.
I paid my dues, and
Right.
there's this feeling that these kids are just coming out of nowhere and they're taking your dues away.
They're not taking
Which is
Which
anything.
unfair because,
Right.
I mean, any author should know how much work it takes to actually complete a novel and get it published and promote it and all that. They know what
hmm
it takes.
and
But
it's not like
To,
someone's gonna buy one book.
right.
You can buy. I can buy many books in a year. I don't need to just
Right.
buy that one.
Right. I mean,
yeah,
if anything, it just proves that time is linear. You move on. You've had your height. You have your thing, and you could still make very good, material.
But we have
Just
this thing, yeah, that happens to where, like, what, Harlan Ellison can sexually assault a woman on stage at the Hugos.
oh,
Hundreds of people see, thousands of people see it streamed online, and he's still invited back.
and she was one of the great, like, one of the, I think one of the most Hugo awarded
Hmm.
authors ever.
No, but
And
know your
she
place,
met.
girl. Know your
Right.
place.
This is. I mean, this is it okay? It's public knowledge. I think it was
Yes.
Connie Willis,
Hmm.
who, if I'm not mistaken, may have won more Hugo awards than anybody else ever, at least until
Hmm.
recently. That may still be true. And yeah, and he was just, it literally walked on stage and it physically assaulted her in front of everyone. This was this at a Worldcon?
It was at the Hugo Awards on stage as she was receiving an award.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
cannot.
It is know your place, girl.
Right.
That's just it. I don't give people the benefit of the doubt anymore.
Well, no, and then that, I mean, that one obviously doesn't deserve any benefit of the doubt. But
Right.
even the things that are more where there are easier excuses to make, those excuses still don't fly. Like, is it's just it's obvious why things are done the way they are, and I think you're right. It's people, and we see this played out across so many facets of society right now, especially, and over the last few years. But it's been going on forever. Um,
Hmm.
it's just people are becoming more aware of it now, and hopefully are becoming less willing to tolerate it.
Yeah, and
Um,
what is Rob Silverberg doing at the Hugos? Like, not I asked that as a question because when N.K. Jemisin, like when she won like 3 Hugos in a row,
mhm.
his response, he made a very public statement about how she didn't act grateful enough in her
What?
award
What?
acknowledgement. That was a huge thing. It was all over like the file, Mike Glear's
Yeah, file
Glear's thing.
770.
Yeah, and it was he accused her of not acting thankful enough, appreciative enough, grateful enough, gracious enough.
What?
He all but called her the N word. She's
This
What?
is
uppity.
I've got the quote here if you want to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, please.
So this is something that I'm trying to see what year it was from. Anyway, this is yeah, and just to remind people of the context, as Megan
San
just said.
Jose Worldcon.
Yes, so this was Nora Jemisin, N.K. Jemisin, winning for the first time ever in the history of the Hugo Awards, winning 3 consecutive Best Novel Hugo Awards for her amazing Broken Earth trilogy. Go buy that, by the way.
Go
It's
buy
it's
it.
freaking
Yeah.
amazing. So part of what Silverberg said, this is I'm quoting directly from something that he wrote on a private mailing list, but that got leaked. Quote: I have not read the Jemison books, so that's a great start, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Perhaps they are wonderful works of science fiction, deserving of Hugos every year from now on. That's some sarcastic
Perhaps.
asshole shit right there.
Perhaps.
Um, but in her graceless and vulgar acceptance speech last night, she insisted she had not won because of, quote, identity politics, and proceeded to disprove her own point by rehearsing the grievances of her people and describing her latest
Wow.
Hugo as a middle finger aimed at all those who had created those grievances.
It was at him.
End quote. Yeah. Oh, that was.
As I said, he all but called her the N-word.
Yeah.
No, that's. I mean, yeah. I mean, you see those
Your people,
the words.
the black woman, is vulgar.
Right.
Not grateful enough.
Grievances, graceless, vulgar, her
all
people.
The words. All the words.
I mean, those aren't even. That's beyond even dog whistling. That's
just
no,
say
it's
the
just
N-word
right
at
out
that
there.
point.
Yeah, just go ahead and say just right. Just say it and be done with it. So at least I know at that point where I do not need to spend any time or money at. Just say it and so I can be done with it.
He was a prominent voice this year at the Hugos, where he proceeded to mispronounce non-English names, which I don't give people the benefit of the doubt. Everyone sent their name phonetically. They wrote it phonetically and sent it to these people.
Right.
George mispronounced non-English names, and it was sent to him phonetically.
Now, this is a thing that we know is done, right? Like that they specifically send in their names phonetically because the winners of a lot of these awards are people from all over the world. More so recently, which is great to see. And yeah, you want to get their names right. It's very personally insulting to not care enough to get it right, or even more so to intentionally just not give a shit. And
it's the disrespect.
Yeah.
John Picasso, he won. George mispronounced his name.
They're like really good friends. How is that even possible?
He did the art for George's books.
Yeah,
He pronounced his name like Picasso, like it was like some kind of Italian name when he's Spanish.
Yeah, he's of Mexican heritage for sure, and that's which is something that he's very proud of. He does cool stuff with the Mexicanex initiative that he started.
So the Hispanic man who works for you doesn't even get enough respect for you to say his name right.
That's pretty shocking actually, because John and George are like good personal friends. So that's wow. I gonna have to go back and watch this video apparently.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and they've been friends for a long time. Like John was definitely he did one of the annual calendars that they did with the art of A Song of Ice and Fire.
He did wild card,
really amazing artwork. Yeah, exactly. Did wild card stuff. Like they work together a lot. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video because that would be that's baffling to me.
There was, I don't remember who did it, but there was some statement. Charlie Jane Anders won an award for her fan cast that she does.
Yes.
The trans woman. Between the time of her winning that, fast forward, I don't remember which one of the old dudes that said it because I was kind of mixing them together at one point. But they made comments about the Oscar award and how it wasn't really a man because it didn't have a penis. And they just kind of laid into this, and it was like you're trying to make not even a low-key dog whistle, like
it's just straight anti-trans
statement, but you did that, and there's not a really good breath between when a trans woman won something and you said that. Like it happening on the same night is kind of weird, but it's okay.
Yeah, no, I mean that's pretty infuriating actually. Charlie Jane is a wonderful person. I've met her a couple of times, and just to throw in a note here, that was the Charlie Jane Anders and Annalee Newitz won for their fan cast Our Opinions Are Correct, which I highly recommend to folks if you like discussions of science fiction and fantasy topics. Listening to the two of them discuss those things is absolutely worth your time. Our Opinions Are Correct. Yes, very entertaining, very, very smart stuff. And I'm not that familiar with Annalee, but I can say Charlie Jane's book, City in the Middle of the Night, is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to just personally recommend that one. And yeah, that is to have somebody just leaning in on that kind of just blatantly anti-trans speech.
People make
fucking
this
unacceptable.
excuse like they're just old dudes, and you gotta give them because they did that when Harlan was like squeezed a woman's breasts on stage. You're like, oh, he's an old man, and da, da, da. And I'm just like, I know plenty of old men that know that you don't do that.
Right.
Yes, you should know, and like just because it's okay, it's never been acceptable. It may have been like not as easily punishable in the past. It's never been okay, and you should know that. And you don't get the benefit of the doubt, and you don't get a free pass because you're old or because it used to be this way. It's not this way. It never should have been this way. So get with the times and leave people alone. And actually,
it feels very immature and toddler-like. Like there's a tantrum that everything isn't for you. That makes sense.
It absolutely does. It does come off like a tantrum, doesn't it? Where it's like, well, this has always been ours, and we don't want girls in our club, and we don't want, like, we get to choose who comes. It's that goddamn gatekeeping that that it comes up a lot. Rob and I talk about this a lot on the show because we just really, really dislike it. It's not. It's what makes things more. It's the main thing I think that is holding back the progression
Greatness.
of fandom. Yes,
Fucking greatness. It's holding back greatness.
How many voices got squished and squashed out because of this?
Yeah. Although I will say, on an optimistic note, I don't think those attempts at gatekeeping are being successful. They're pissing people off. Everyone's upset. Right. Everyone's pissed off about it, very justifiably. And if you look at, like you said, Maggie, the people who actually won, the way the voters chose what the best work is that's out. And I make it a point to read whatever is nominated for Hugos every year. I love to keep up with this stuff. And it does tend to be the best work that was put out. This is not driven by politics or identity. This is the best work that came out this year.
Right.
Yeah. And so I like the fact that at least these attempts to gatekeep and to just hold on to the old way of doing things, they're failing. It's not working. We are really starting to see a major resurgence and a new golden age, if you want to call it that, in these fields, and people are respecting that. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to do about these consistent problems with Worldcon and with the Hugo Awards. I don't know what really can be done.
You have to invite them. Like I keep saying this, you don't have to have Bob Silverberg at your con. Right. You never had to invite him. He's, and this is probably what he is rebelling against. So what I'm going to say is he's not relevant right now. He's proven himself to be extremely racist in that quote that Jesse put forth.
Right.
You don't have to invite him and include him in your community space.
How does one recover from something like that? I mean, I don't understand how someone could say something like that and still be invited to a prestigious event. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't. I can't quantify how that happens. I mean,
the argument is he's been at every Worldcon practically. He's been alive.
That's not even an excuse. Like
he's been alive for all the Worldcon, so that's their excuse. Is like this, like you're respecting your elders.
It's so infuriating because as just a black dude trying to just shop at a grocery store, I don't get a fucking benefit of a doubt, like at all. Like that shit happens to me, and someone just basically lays out their whole ideology of how they feel about somebody else in blatant, disgusting ways, and they're just because they have a little clout, they can come back at any given time. Well, that's bullshit.
They make excuses for him.
No, why? It makes no fucking
time.
Sense.
Oh, he didn't mean it like that.
If someone squeezed my grandmother's breast, my grandfather would knock them the fuck out.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of the it was a different time thing. It's not a different time now. Now is the time that it is now. And I gotta I don't know. I don't want to go too hard on the people who organized this Worldcon or any past Worldcons. I don't know them personally, and I know from experience, Allie Charlesworth and I.
This year.
Yeah, it's and Allie Charlesworth and I run Multiverse, and I know what goes. Like there are a lot of complex things that go into putting together a convention.
Right.
But it's hard not to lay a lot of this at the feet of the of the organizing groups that put together these World Cons year after year.
And I'm going to put an extra, not to be mean, I think they had special challenges this year,
True.
being like because of the pandemic and it was all
Right.
online. But to hammer something home, George R. R. Martin, everything he said, everything Bob Silverberg said was pre-recorded, meaning someone listened to it,
Right.
edited it, said, "Sounds great, Chief," and press
And
publish.
press play. Right.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yep.
Right.
No, you're right. Like it does have to. I mean, the buck has to stop somewhere, and it's really hard not to put it on the doorstep of the people who organize the conventions. And that's the only thing I can think is that with the upcoming conventions, we got DC next year and Chicago the year after that, and who knows after that. Um, the, the committees that put these together and make the bids and organize the World Cons have just got to do a better job. Like people
Right.
are really sick of the way things have been
We've
done.
been saying that for decades. Do a better job. Do a better
Yeah.
job.
And
Decades.
but I think there's being enough enough public outcry about it, hopefully so, that they're starting to understand like this is not, you can't keep doing this or people are going to turn their backs on you. Like
You will
they're going to,
self-marginalize
yes,
yourself.
you will
Your
self-marginalize.
convention will become marginalized in the community.
Right. I feel like it's really in danger of that right now. And I would hope to see in the next couple of years, the people that run the next couple of World Cons, I'd love to see them put together something that is a lot more thoughtful and treats their
Mhm.
guests a lot better. Because again, and we didn't do this on purpose, but we end up talking tonight about a lot about George Martin and Bob Silverberg because it was made about them, and
Right.
it should be
Yeah.
about the people that
It was
we
great people.
led off with at the beginning, the people that did this amazing work and won these awards. I hate that it takes time away from them. So just God, please,
It's like a
DisCon
kid
next
having a
year.
tantrum, isn't it? Like
It
kids having a
is.
tantrum because someone else got all the presents at the birthday party and I didn't get any presents at the birthday party. So I'm going to basically like shit in the birthday cake and then everyone's going to pay attention to me.
Right.
Yeah, it just refocuses all the attention. It's bullshit, and I just really want. I don't know if anyone will hear this who's involved with DisCon next year or ShyCon the year after that, but just please take some of these things into account. Focus on the
Right.
people who are winning the awards,
Right.
and don't just. You don't have to be so retrospective. There's nothing wrong with looking at the history of science fiction and fantasy. There's great stuff there to appreciate, but I don't know what else to say other than just
Look
come on,
towards
do
its
better.
future.
Mhm.
Look towards
Yes.
its future.
It's
Don't
science
look-
fiction
these-
for God's sakes.
Respect its
Right.
past and look towards its fucking future. And
Yes.
its future is brilliant if you allow it to be. Because right now you're not holding yourself to a higher standard.
Right,
Please
and
hold yourself to
Worldcon
a higher
and the
standard.
Worldcon and the Hugos are supposed to be the flagship for
Right.
for all this stuff. So, and it's really not matching up with the actual science fiction and fantasy community,
Right.
the fandom, the creators. It's not matching up with that recently, and I really like to see them get realigned because there's great stuff happening in this field right now, and we want to be able to celebrate that without having to talk about how
Problematic.
how bad it can be and how the people that are
Right.
fucking it up. So
And we know it can be better because I can't remember who said it, and I apologize to this person, but I saw them. They tweeted on my whatever you call the tweet thing, the Twitter. The Twitter. They tweeted and they were like, I want to give a bit. I'm watching the Hugo Awards right now, and all I've got to say is thank you, Mary Robinette, for a wonderful Nebula Award.
yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Mary Robinette Kowal,
Mhm.
by the way,
Yeah.
for putting together. She's the current
Our
president
SIFWA
of
president.
current president of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, which puts on the Nebulas every year, and which by all accounts was a really excellent online event and very thoughtfully done. I mean, just Worldcon folks, DisCon, ShyCon. Look at that! Look how they did it,
Mhm.
and
Attention.
take some cues.
Right.
Talk to
Yeah.
people who know how to do it in a way that is actually respectful to the entire community. You can get this right. We believe in you. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And a little birdie whispered. This is the gossip. The little birdie has whispered that the retro Hugo is probably going to be up for a vote to be
Mm.
extinguished from the Hugo Awards.
Wow.
It sounds like someone in the board is going to bring it up for motion, and it sounds like there's enough people to support that motion to get rid of it.
Wow.
I would not be sad to see it go. We all know what the old stuff is. We can go find it anytime we want to. Let's look toward the future.
Unless they want to honor someone who needs to be
right, somebody who maybe was forgotten.
Yeah, that needs a resurgence. There are lots of women. I mean, I work at Pseudopod, and I'm going through the retro stuff every day because it's open. It's like free source. We don't got to pay for it, you know.
Yeah.
So I got like Margaret St. Clair and Gigi Penderdar's. It's just like these Dorothy Quick, all these old. They wrote that Cosmic Horror too. I mean, I got someone arguing me on Twitter, but H.P. Lovecraft, he was the first to do Cosmic Horror. And I was like, no. He just didn't protect his rights, and he had no next of kin, though. Therefore, he did not have an estate. Therefore, very early on, all his shit was free to use because he didn't protect his rights and had no next of kin to fight for his rights. Meaning people could write in his mythos quickly, and especially there was this resurgence in the 90s where they realized, like, hey, this stuff is just free to use, and so it was just used. He was the best for editors' budgets. That is why he's so well known today. Right. These other people had family who loved them, who protected their estates when they died.
Because they weren't assholes. Another thing I can throw out there as a recommendation is look up the work that Cherie Renee Thomas has done. The Dark Matter anthologies that she put together. She did a lot of research and uncovered about 100 years worth of science fiction and fantasy type work by Black authors that had not gotten the publicity that it deserved at the time or had been otherwise buried. So yeah, check out Cherie Renee Thomas's stuff.
That'd be good retro Hugo.
That would be,
you know,
right? Yes,
or just get rid of it.
There's so many, or to get rid of it. I'm not going to be sad to see it go if it goes. So that's that's where we stand on the Hugos, isn't it, folks?
Right. I mean, they are a good award. I mean, to win a Hugo is it. I mean, it's like the Oscars of sci-fi and fantasy and horror.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's a great chance to honor people who are doing fantastic work. And congratulations again to everybody who won tonight, who's an actual Hugo, not a retro Hugo.
Despite the display of these dudes, you won because your community supports you. Right. And I'm sorry that someone made it about you and you didn't have the experience you deserved.
Right. Yes. We hate that happened. We love you. You're awesome, and your community supports you. All of you winners tonight, thank you for doing the work that you do and giving us the great entertainment that we enjoy so much. Keep doing it. This stuff's hopefully going to get better if we all keep pushing in the right direction. Yes. So that's the 2020 Hugos. Schill, Maggie, thank you again for joining us on short notice. We really appreciate it. Where can people find you online if you want to give them a reminder?
I have a website, www.mmschill.com. I have a Twitter at mmschill_, like mm_shill, or you can probably just Google me as mmschill. I'm pretty public.
You're
to my detriment.
Easy to find.
I'm really easy to find.
Yeah, and that's if anyone's not looking at the show notes, it's SCHILL. Schill. Just want to make sure they're able to find you. Y'all can find me online if you want to on Twitter at Jesse_A_Adams. Rob, where can they find you?
And you can find me on Twitter at EI Blackout. That's IAIBLACKOUT.
Yep, and you can always stream our podcast episodes at glitchypancakes.com, or we're now up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere else, wherever you get your podcasts. Any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions? Yeah, tell them where to go, Rob.
You threw me for a loop there.
Threw you for a loop, sorry, yeah. You weren't expecting that. And
you can contact us at cakespod@gmail.com. The CAKEPODS@gmail.com. We appreciate you listening.
@gmail. Yes, thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate it.
We appreciate Schill joining us here for this this fire bit of information. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for taking your time.
Yes, thank you very much. And,
All right,
we
everybody,
hope you
go
guys
out
have a
there
good
and
night.
go check out some of those works by the Hugo winners. Go
Yes.
buy some books and check them out.
Go buy some books. We're gonna
And we
be
will
inside
catch you
for a
next
minute.
time.
Buy some
Yeah.
damn books.
Yeah.
Now
Thanks
is
for
the time to
listening,
do it.
everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.